a very vital topic today that I'm going to be telling you about. The title is The Social Revolution of Dialog Will Increase Happiness, Reduce Substance Abuse, Suicides, Road Rage, Divorce, Conflict between nations, Violence, Loneliness, Litigious disputes, loneliness, anxiety, heart disease, gender frustration, and depression. It's a huge claim. You might wonder, well, what is the social revolution of dialogue? I've talked about it before. I'm going to review it and then show exactly how it's going to do all that I just said. Social revolution of dialogue is based on the premise that we have the right to be who we truly are, that we don't have to pretend to be someone else, as long as the expression of the true self is done in a respectfully real manner, that is, with kindness, with wisdom, and respect of boundaries. That's the fundamental part of it. We've interviewed 1,800 people. We found that most people are tired and bored with superficial conversation, and most people want deeper conversation. In fact, we even prefer to buy goods and services from a deep person as opposed to superficial, and a more attractive member of the opposite sex who is deep as opposed to superficial. We found that about 95% of the conversations in this country, and it could vary throughout the world, but in this case about 95% of the time superficial, 5% deep. So the social revolution of dialogue calls for a new social contract. Instead of 95-5, it'll be 50-50. 50% of the time superficial, 50% of the time deep. The new social contract. Before there was a lock-in the old social contract, superficial conversation began, it was locked in, you can't get out of it. The new social contract, it's suspended. You can go deep, superficial, back to deep. The old social contract, only certain subjects were socially appropriate. Under the new social contract, all subjects are socially appropriate, as long as the expression of discussing that topic is done in a respectfully real manner, with kindness, wisdom, and respect of boundaries. Respect to real communication. Respect to real communication is defined by communication that builds a connection, a bridge, as opposed to a wall or a barrier. I'm going to go into how it's going to do each of these aspects in terms of increasing happiness. In fact, there was a study, and it was published in Psychology Today, called Get Beyond Small Talk, and they found that people who are speaking more deeply tend to be happier. Substance abuse, many individuals feel so isolated, they're more likely to turn to substance abuse to deal with that. Whereas if we were able to speak more deeply with one another, it would reduce a certain portion of people abusing substances. Suicides, the alienation, the despair that people go through would also be reduced as people talk more deeply to one another. Road rage, divorce, where people are not expressing their deepest reality to each other, they're not showing the vulnerability, they're using cover-ups. Conflict between nations, a certain percentage of those are because the leaders are having issues with each other. They sat down in a respectfully real manner, probably a good portion, 30, 40, 50% would be reduced. Violence, individuals covering up their vulnerability through violent expression. The loneliness, which is because people are not talking more deeply from their hearts, and which then in turn leads to greater depression. And litigious disputes, a lot of litigation would even be stopped if management were talking in a respectful, real manner to the worker in a way that's respectful, respectfully real. A lot of the litigation, workers' comp and disability claims will be reduced. Gender frustration, if you have somebody, let's say, who's inside is really a female but outwardly is a male, the person has a right to be the female that she really is. And once she understands she has the right to be who she truly is, which is the goal of the social revolution of dialogue, as I mentioned, depression, which has to do, is exacerbated severely by alienation and separation from one another. So I'm going to go into greater detail about how this works, but you can see in this revolution. Now, it's a non-political revolution, it's non-violent, and it's not a matter of convincing people to accept a new social contract, no. We found that most people are already there. They already want the new social contract. So it's then a matter of people being able to find one another who accept this, and therefore can speak more deeply with one another. But to be able to speak deeply and be who you really are, you have to know who you really are. And I'm going to tell you now, with all the respect to everybody, most of you do not know who you really are. You're confused by it. You do not know. I'm positive of that. People think when they get upset or they get angry, they think that they're an angry person. Let's say they get angry once a day or twice a day. They think, well, I'm an angry person. No. Person may say, well, I'm a jealous person. I get jealous a lot. No. However you're defining yourself, it's incorrect. You're not the thoughts you have. You're not even the emotions you have. This doesn't define you.